I don't know whether scientifically we can define intuition. Is this also tied with intuition, or would you not?
Basically, intuition is something that nobody knows how it comes.
Mhm.
If I tell you define intuition, or
It's a
I
very
have great
abstract,
intuition power, yeah, it's an
yeah,
abstract thing,
very
but
abstract.
very abstract thing.
Mm.
But down the line, if you delve deep,
Mm.
intuition actually comes from you even might not be knowing this, but intuition actually comes from your experience.
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Understood.
suppose if you ask a doctor,
Mm.
suppose a doctor is struggling with a case.
Mm. Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
struggling with a case, with a
Mm.
patient, with something, some abnormality, some disease, some disorder.
Mm.
And one day he goes to his senior, say for example, goes to his senior to discuss the case,
Mhm.
and somehow the senior tells him or her that
Mm.
go for this, uh, what to say, go for this, not treatment, but go for this test, something might pop up.
Right. So
You go and test that thing,
that
something
definitely
pops up.
is, yeah, experience.
That's experience. Even
Right.
that, if you go and ask your senior doctor that
Mm.
what made you say so, even
Mm.
maybe he or she won't be able to answer.
Yeah.
That's the intuition actually comes from.
Experience.
Science says intuition actually comes from your experience. You may not even be knowing it yourself, but it comes
Mm.
from experience.
Is
And
it? It
yes, emotion is related with experience.
correct, correct.
Absolutely,
That's what I was
absolutely.
coming to. Also, I have
Yes,
another
absolutely.
question since we deal with
Mhm, mhm.
teenagers and adolescent students.
Yes,
Uh, how is it? So is I know, very vaguely because I'm not a biology teacher or an expert. I know that the brain develops in the human being, in the till the early 20s, right? So the full
yes,
development of the
absolutely,
brain happens there.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely, absolutely.
in the age that we are working in, the adolescent
Mhm,
teenagers,
mhm,
uh,
mhm.
how does that development happen? Or uh,
Yes, very important. I get your point. There's something called neuroplasticity that we call in a brain. It's something called neuroplasticity. Okay.
Mhm, mhm,
Goleman in this book hasn't used that particular term neuroplasticity, but he has used some other terms, but it basically means the same.
mhm,
Neuroplasticity is something that he tells you that our brain is very much malleable. What
okay,
is that? We have kind of billions of brain cells that we call neurons
mhm,
that make our nervous system, that make our nerves, brain, spinal cord, all these things.
mhm,
Actually, when we are very young, the
mhm,
number of neurons, this is very interesting, the number of neuron is actually much more than what
mhm.
we have today. Actually, much more.
Okay.
Okay. And there are some random connections between the neuron. What finally shapes or gives strength to those connections is your experience, is your learning. Once you start learning that this is something, suppose you are in a society that tells you that this is good and this is bad,
Mhm, mhm.
so the neuronal connection will kind of restructure in that way.
So conditioning actually,
Conditioning, yes, the experience conditioning, where your conditioning means everything.
mm,
Your nature, your country, your society, your
mm,
family, your peers, every kind of conditioning during the young age
mhm,
has got a very important impact. And
mm,
that's how the neuronal connections are actually shaped or restructures. And
mm,
after a point of time, as you grow,
mm,
those extra bit of neurons that you don't need, you
mm,
you know a sculptor, how it makes a beautiful
mm,
idol,
mm, mm.
right? He
Right.
just uh
The extra, extra
yeah,
mud
the
that
extra
is
bit,
not
he
required, he
just removes
scoops
the
it.
extra bit. Yes.
Yes, he scoops it off. I understand what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So
So,
that's how the
there's a lot
brain
of
is formed.
possibility in the beginning, but the
Absolutely.
whatever you polish remains there. Whatever you don't, it just dies off.
That's the best part. That's why we say that up to a certain age we can learn
Mhm.
it so faster.
Yes, yes.
And after a point of time, this neuronal connection gets so much rigid. It
Mm,
gets so much, yeah, the connections are so rigid that it's very difficult to unlearn. Unlearn means you again need to restructure that thing, the
mm,
connections. So while the connections are being made,
mm,
whatever you give them, whatever you provide, whatever environment, whatever experience you provide to the young ones,
mm,
they will structure in that way. So that's why there is that debate
Mm.
everlasting, ongoing debate between the nature and nurture.
Nurture,
The
yes.
nature is your genetics, but
Thinking
the
of
nurture
that.
is your, yeah, experience.
Hmm. So,
That's the
in
thing.
this book, I think there's a term which relates to emotional hijacking,
Mhm.
which is interference with thinking and decision making. Uh,
Absolutely.
I'm sure this relates to that. Could you just, enlighten us or tell us about
So
that?
emotional hijacking means if you are emotionally overwhelmed,
Hmm.
right? I'll bring a little bit of science, a little bit, not
No,
much.
sure, sure, no
So I'll
problem.
bring, yeah. So if so, the thing is that
Hmm.
again we'll come to that two part, that prefrontal cortex or the frontal part and the amygdala, the rational brain and the emotional brain.
Hmm.
Your emotional brain is more powerful, more heavy. Okay.
Hmm.
So if you are emotionally overwhelmed, what it does, it actually cuts off all the signals to the prefrontal cortex. Now it's in a fight or flight mode.
Okay.
Okay, it considers itself that you have gone for hunting and you are now in front of a wild animal, in front of a saber-toothed tiger.
Mm.
So now you don't need to analyze the situation. Now you don't have the scope to calculate the situation. Now you just need to fight or fly off.
Okay.
So that's why it actually cuts all your rational thinking. So when we are emotionally very much heavy, so that's when we can also relate to these things. We are as grown up adults, we can
Mm.
also relate to this. In case of during times of rage, anger, fear,
Mhm.
anxiety, some psychological stress, we can't think rationally, right?
Mm.
That's that because that's emotional hijacking. That amygdala has taken the power all to itself.
Mm.
It has severed the all the connections. It will not allow impulses, signals to go to the prefrontal cortex because there is no time. So that's why when you are emotionally overwhelmed, you
Mm.
can't take correct decisions. So
Mhm.
that's why we find ourselves in those positions. We say something that
Mhm.
we repent afterwards.
It's
We
very
say something.
interesting.